Hey, everybody, and welcome to Learning from Smart People. I appreciate you being with us today. My name is Rob Oliver, and it's my privilege to be your host. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. I hope that let me just tell you, I'm in Pittsburgh, and we're recording this in April, and it's snowing, and there's like an inch and a half of snow on the ground, which this is the joys of living in Pittsburgh, and it's going to be 80 like 3 or 4 days from now. This is what I put up with. However, there are wonderful people here, and it is my privilege to share with you wonderful people, smart people. Today, my guest is Vanessa Zamy. She is a business expert, keynote speaker, and best-selling author dedicated to helping full-time employees transition to entrepreneurship by building their business while still employed. Her consulting company, Your Vision's Catalyst, coaches and advises 9-to-5ers on how to build a profit-producing, purpose-driven business, even with a demanding day job. Vanessa, welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be here, Rob. Thank you for having
Absolutely.
me.
So a lot of the folks that listen, they're entrepreneurs. They have a business that's established, but there are others out there that they've got a dream, a vision, a hope to say, you know what, I'm chained to my desk right now, but I would love to start my own business. I would love to become an entrepreneur. Before we get started on that, do you have suggestions for what kind of people make good entrepreneurs?
Ooh, that's a great question, Rob. What kind of people make good entrepreneurs? I would say, well, my whole philosophy that essentially I think anyone could be an entrepreneur. Honestly, at the end of the day, anyone can be an entrepreneur because essentially at the end of the day, it comes into you growing and developing and transforming into the skills that you can be in order to be a successful business owner. Now, in terms of the skills that you need, right? Like if we're sitting here right now thinking about whether or not this is the right step for you, this is the right chapter for you, right? Key qualities that make a great entrepreneur already, someone who is ambitious, right? You want to essentially make things happen. And the reason why ambition is really important is because entrepreneurship is not a sprint. Like I always say, entrepreneurship is a marathon. It's not let me start my business today. Oh, now there's money tomorrow. All done. Like, no, I think people have this idea that they're going to do their business. They're going to launch it one day and then that's it, right? And that's not how it works. That's not how being a business owner works, right? It is a matter of what is it that you're looking to achieve and then your willingness and your ability to make that happen, right? And the thing is that you don't have to be confident in that. Like there are many entrepreneurs running around here with imposter syndrome, with doubt, with all the types of things, right? And it happens even if you're at 0 figures or you're at 9 figures, right? It just doesn't matter. It's all in there. And so really what keeps the successful entrepreneurs, what makes them different from the unsuccessful entrepreneurs are the people who actually keep moving forward in their business because they have that marathon in mind. They had that finish line in mind, and that finish line is so important to them that they actually want to make it
Okay,
happen.
so I love that concept, and it's the idea that you're in this for the long haul, all right? And
Yes.
as such, you're suggesting like don't just jump into this both feet first and be like, okay, I've got this idea, I've got this passion, let's go. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start up. You're suggesting like, hey, wait a minute, let's kind of get the plans in place and get started before you quit your day job. Can you tell me a little bit,
Yes.
how did you come up with that idea and why is that so important?
Yeah. So I'll say why is that so important? How did I come up with it? So how did I come up with it is essentially that's what I did. So I built my business, Your Vision's Catalyst, the consulting company through which I help people and help entrepreneurs transition and help them grow their business while doing their 9 to 5. I built that business while doing my own 9 to 5. Right. And really it was the reason why I did that was because, not only that, but even now, we'll go into the myth of it. I'm gonna start with the myth of it. But essentially, when it comes to one of the misconceptions is that, all this thing, yeah, burn all the bridges, go all in. Like, I was homeless and I made it, you can too. Like, and all these perceptions, all these stories and stuff, right? And it's kind of just glamorizing this whole concept of, struggling to eat and struggling all this other stuff. And the thing is that my belief was that that wasn't necessary. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do my business and I'm gonna see how, what this actually like looks like, what it actually means. And so I essentially built my business while doing my day job because and the thing is I had a horrible boss, terrible boss at the time. I've had like panic attacks while in corporate America, yet somehow I still made it and got to my six-figure salary and my promotions and all that jazz. But at the end of the day, it wasn't a good environment for me, right? And the thing is, for me, like I have my mother that I was thinking about on the other side of the country and like giving her money, right? And there are people with like
Sure.
kids, right? It's not only just you, right? You have kids, you have family, you're a caregiver for other people. Like maybe you're the oldest sibling, and like when things happen in the family, they come to you. Everyone comes to you, right? And so it's not just you're not only thinking about yourself, right? But you're thinking about other people. It's not like if you go homeless, other people will go homeless too, right? It's not just you go homeless and like blah 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 blah,
Right.
blah, right? And so that is why it's so important for people to see that this is an option. Like you can get a plan in place, start the business, get some proof of concept, get some proof like just out there that the business can actually be successful. And then when you're ready and when you feel confident, you then quit
Yep.
the day job.
So
Make it happen.
what you're saying, I really appreciate. I think a friend of mine, his name's Buffo, the world's strongest clown. Okay, and he talks about he was a school teacher for a long time, and he was teaching school during the week and doing clown stuff on the weekends, and eventually realized like I'm making more on the 2 days of the weekend than I am during the week, and made the transition and became full-time clown. But it's that idea that you're creating a business, you're establishing the business, and when you transition, it's a smooth transition. It's not that because
Yes.
it's when people talk about it.
It's the financial stress. Yes. It's the lack of financial stress or the financial stress. Essentially what gets people a lot, that whole homeless thing. The reason why the homeless thing happens is because a person quits and they have no money, right? They run out of money. And it's just like with whether you're building a product business or service-based business, for you to approach your business, whether it's your leads, your website, whatever it is that you're doing when it comes to making business decisions, you want to be clear in those decisions instead of, oh my goodness, if I don't get this thing going, like I'm not gonna have food to eat.
Right.
OMG, the world's gonna end up, right? Like that's not good energy to have when it comes to building your business, right? And you don't need to
Sure.
have that energy. And so when it came to, for your friend, his teaching job, although it was probably a very low salary, he probably was using some of those funds though to fund what he was doing with the business, right? When it came to the clown business, even just like the outfits, the maintenance, booking gigs, sending out letters, whatever it is that he used to get leads. And so it's one of those things where it's just also just a great source of financial
Right.
capital. Is your business, is your
Sure.
day job.
What? Okay. And because I live in the world of analogy, I'm actually thinking about this from this perspective, and that is, when you're learning how to drive a car with a manual transmission, like the clutch is the hard part, right? And getting started is actually the difficult part. And I remember I was teaching my sister how to drive, and we with a manual transmission, and it was a matter of we would get started and be like, all right, stop, and now start again. And she's like, but starting is the hardest part. Like once I get going, it's much easier to drive with this transmission. And I think that what you're talking about is you're getting started, you're engaging the clutch, engaging the gears, and you're rolling by the time you decide to move away from your day job. And you have kind of, as you said, the financial stress isn't there, and you have, in some ways, a safety net, and you already have some of the experiences of going through that, and you're not eating ramen 6 days a week and living in a box,
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Literally, yes. On one of my pages, that I like share with people, I'm like, you don't have to eat
Right?
ramen every single day. Like that is not
Sure.
necessary.
Well,
Like,
okay. I guess on the flip side of that, though, how do you manage to do both? Because if you've already got a 9 to 5 and you're putting in 40 hours a week there, and you're trying to get another business started, how do you not just get totally burned out by working 60, 70, 80 plus hours a week between two businesses?
and that is my specialty, Rob.
Okay.
Yes, and that is my specialty, Rob. Yes, that is what essentially I guide clients through. And at the end of the day, it's really how do I put this? So my philosophy is that time management does not exist. time management does not exist. And it's not so much essentially what people are trying to do. They're trying to like, oh, I need to make the most out of these 24 hours. They're burning the midnight oil. Another misconception that you had to like go to sleep at 3 a.m., wake up at 5, like, situation. And the thing is that is not necessary. Because what ends up happening, speaking of analogies, the analogy that I like to use is essentially like people, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people who are overwhelmed and stressed out, what they're doing is they're jogging, they're running, they're jogging, they're sweating, they're like, oh my God, they're dehydrated, like they're in pain, their legs, their arms are in pain, OMG. And then you zoom out, but they haven't gone anywhere. They're jogging in place. They might as well
Right.
be on the treadmill. They're just jogging in the same place, right? And so what ends up happening, a lot of people are busy and not productive. They're busy and they're not moving forward. They're doing a lot of things that they don't really need to do because of this. There's a level of impatience. There's a level of all the stuff that the ads are bringing you on the screen. There's all the things that are just getting in their way of making just efficient and effective decisions. It's not about what you're doing, but how it is that you're doing what it is that you're doing, the quality of what it is
Right.
that you're doing.
So, yeah, I mean, since we're going with analogies, the hamster on the hamster wheel, he puts out a lot of energy, he
Yes,
puts out a lot of motion, he burns a lot of calories, but he never goes anywhere. And that's really what you're talking about. That
exactly.
I love that the difference between being busy and being productive is huge. There are people who are very busy but never get anything done, and then there are the people who are productive. That's genius. Okay, absolute genius. I guess the other piece is that what you're talking about is the people that work with you obviously have some support. Okay, they've got you to help them out, and is that something that you would suggest? And I don't mean this like just in a completely self-serving way, that the only way for you to be successful is to work with Vanessa. But I'm assuming that everybody, in order to be successful, they can't really go this alone. There's got to be some supports in place.
Yes.
Can you talk to me about, I mean, let's talk about what you offer as support and what kind of other supports are available that will help people and I'm going to try and be careful with my language here, not as they're launching their business, because that's what they're doing, but as they're getting ready to transition from working for someone else to becoming an entrepreneur. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And that is essentially the population that I focus on are the people you've already launched your business. You've already started your business. And essentially now you're in the marathon and you're running, but maybe you feel like you are jogging in place. And so you're a lot of busy and you're not being productive. And so you're struggling, right? And you're stressed out. And so what I do in terms of helping people, so I'll start with what I do and I'll make it broader in terms of what other people can do too. And so, because I am only one person, there are 8 billion people in the world. So can't help them all. One day I will. But essentially, with that being said, the way that I help my clients is that we work together in getting them not only first we define the clear path for them to move forward. And so it's defining the income goal. It's defining like what is their future? What do they actually want their future to look like? It's, looking at the 3 months versus 6 months versus 12 months versus 2 years from now, right? And how does that compare with the now? And really setting clear priorities on how to get there. And so, in my whole thing, I'm very high touch one-on-one person. So I'm kind of like what my clients say, I'm kind of like a co-founder, COO, CMO for them and their business at the end of the day. And with that being said, right, it's really is because I really do want what my clients to really make their business happen and keep moving forward. And a lot of people, when they end up burned out, overwhelmed, and busy, they end up quitting on the business, which means that they end up quitting on their vision and their dream until 15 years from now, when another pandemic happens and they decide, oh, let me do it again. And we don't want that, right? There's no reason for that to happen because the happiness that you have for yourself as a business owner, that spreads to your family, that spreads to your friends, that spreads to not only that, but what you can give to your community and how you can give to your community, right? And it's a ripple effect. And so with that being said, I really work with my clients one-on-one in understanding, setting those clear visions, setting that clear path and that clear vision, and then working with them to then make that happen. And we do that in essentially 6 phases. So the first part is the vision. The second part is then the clear, confident marketing. So getting their branding and messaging together and really aligning on who it is that they're targeting and who it is that needs to hear their message and how they can get to that person. And then third part is then team. And so in terms of, is it necessary for them to grow a team and build a team, and what stages can that happen? And so like one of my clients, for example, for her, when she was like, her business was growing to the point, but she still wasn't comfortable to like quit her job. I was like, okay, we either need to quit the job or you add someone to the team, right? Those are the two options. Like, what we're not going to do though is turn clients away and turn money away. That's not going to happen, right? And so for her, it was guiding her to, having her first hire and getting her to onboard that hire and all the such things, right? And so it varies by client, but really just essentially how do you grow yourself and how do you grow your business as well too and grow your team. And so, and this person is not a virtual assistant, this person is actually like helping her with the actual day-to-day tasks. And then the next essentially 3 parts then go into the operations of things. And so systemizing the process of the business, ensuring that the financial management is also in peace because of the CEO. A lot of people, they don't like to look at the money for some reason. And so essentially, yeah. And so essentially, and my whole focus is getting people to grow their profit producing purpose-driven business, because a profit is where you can then say, oh, I'm okay with leaving my day job now. Okay, cool. Right. I have profit.
Yeah. So there are 2 things that I want to kind of highlight from what you said. The first of which is you're talking about helping people to develop a business, because so many times entrepreneurs are, they're passionate about something. They've got a skill set. They've got something. They've got this vision for what they want, but the business side of things isn't really their strong suit. And the other thing that you mentioned was that she had made a hire and it wasn't a virtual assistant, because that was my next question to say, all right, in this day and age of virtual assistants where you can make a hire and you can hire somebody for 10 hours a week, and it's, and you can do that offshore, you can do that however you do that, that hiring people is not as, as stressful and as difficult as it used to be, because you can get people that will match the needs that you have. So what are your thoughts on virtual assistants? Is your suggestion like real life local people, or is it virtual assistants, or does it all depend?
I would say it all depends, but I'll share my experience with virtual assistants. So my first hire was a virtual assistant, and it was a local person in the U.S. actually. So a person in the U.S. and out of Ohio. And essentially, I remember her lovely young woman, lovely. So essentially, I hired her, and it was now she's amazing worker, amazing thing, but it was the wrong step for me. And why was that? Because I was like, oh yeah, people keep saying virtual assistants. Let me get a virtual assistant, right? And the thing is, at the time that I hired her, I had a vision, right? I had a vision for the business. And I was like, yeah, we're going to like reach this amount of income in this amount of days or this amount of months. Like, yeah, this vision is going to happen. But I didn't have the step-by-step plan. So what ended up happening was that she joined the team, right? So now we're working together, but pretty much I'm pulling her in different directions every which way, right? Because I wasn't clear and I wasn't confident in whatever path that I chose. And so one week it was like, okay, we're going to do this. The next week it was like, never mind, scratch that. We're going to do this. And then it was just a hot mess, right? It was just a hot mess for her. And the thing is that, for someone listening, think about it this way. When someone is leading you, right, you're not looking to get in a brainstorm with them. Unless you're a business coach, right? You're looking for them to literally tell you what to do and or some general like variation of what to do, with maybe some freedom. But it's not, you don't want to go all around the world doing work that ends up not being used, right? And so it just wasn't the right fit because I just wasn't ready for that at the time. Now, fast forward a year later, I didn't hire a virtual assistant because essentially, so she ended up leaving the team, then I was back to solo. And then fast forward a year later, essentially, I ended up hiring a marketing and sales team. So my priority was not to get the virtual assistant, but to get a marketing and sales team, because those are really the 2 key parts of your business is the marketing and the sales, right? Because without that, you can't even pay for the operations. And so it's really great. So that's essentially the reason why then when I did my next round of hires, it was really just people on marketing and sales. And it wasn't virtual assistants.
Right. But what I'm hearing you say, that I think this goes back to, step 4 of what you were talking about. You have to have a system in place. Mm-hmm. And once you have a system in place, then you can bring the people in to fit into that system. But without a system, without a plan, without an understanding, a clear vision of where you're going, it's shiny object syndrome. And it's, you're doing whatever. Like, we try this week, we throw this at the wall, and if it sticks, then we do it again next week. And then the problem is that because there's no real plan in it, that after 2 weeks when it doesn't work, then, everything gets switched and shifted, and your progress and it just kind of, it depends on which way the wind blows.
Yeah, there is no
Yeah,
progress. Yeah, essentially, it's just like you just end up like, I thought I was going someplace, but no, you just end up at the same place. And so it's just like if you went a mile and then you take like half a
right.
mile back, and then you go up, and it's so essentially just back and forth. And unfortunately, as a founder of a business, maybe you can deal with that, but you shouldn't be dealing with that first of all. But when it's you, it's one thing, but when you're managing someone else and you're in that stage, it's just not effective, right? And so yes, it's like get the system in place and then put the people towards that system. And that's why I go back to your question on virtual assistants. It's like my opinion is that okay, if you have a way for them to do, if you already know what you want them to do, then by all means hire them. But I remember, for example, recently I was like, okay, so I got my marketing sales team. I was like, okay, let me go back to this concept of like hiring a virtual assistant. And so I'm asking, there's lots of virtual assistant companies out there. And so I was like, okay, reaching out. So they're like, yeah, your virtual assistant can do this for you. They can manage this for you. They can manage your sales page and your sales copy and your ads and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, do they write the ads for me? Oh, no, you write it and you set it up. But then they'll send you a report. And I'm like, well, that's not helpful. Right. I'm looking for someone to like run the ad. Like if I'm still running the ad, then what's the point of the assistant to give me reports? Like that doesn't make sense. Right. And so it's a matter of understanding what it is that you want the person to do. And do you have the system in place? Right. Because essentially most of the time, the virtual assistants are more so execution people. They're not necessarily like idea and execution. They're more so here's 10 things to do. Do
Yes.
them.
And it's not necessarily developing content. It's taking the content and getting it circulated. I want to go back to one other thing that you said. You said that you went and you hired a sales and marketing team because essentially that's what you need for your business. You need to sell things and you need to market things. Can you talk to me more about that concept?
Yes. And this goes back to essentially why I said that anyone could be an entrepreneur is because there's business fundamentals. There's business fundamentals that anyone can do. And it comes down to business, it's marketing and it's sales, right? And essentially at the end of the day, it's the person who markets the best, right? And when I say marketing, right, what does that mean? That means letting people know that you exist, right? Letting people know that your message exists, letting people know that your business, your product, your service exists, right? So it's just that whole awareness, the awareness that people have around you, right? And then the second part of that, which then kind of feeds into the where marketing and sales come together, is the sort of it's like you get them in a net. Like essentially well, not necessarily the acquisition. It's the step before the acquisition, right? So it's the awareness, but then it's the capture. So it's the capturing part of it, which is essentially it's like, okay, now they know about you, but how do you sort of like keep them in your web? How do you sort of keep now they're like aware that your web exists, but how do you keep them? So that's why people have lead magnets, it's like getting them on your mailing list, getting them to join your Facebook group, getting them to follow you on Clubhouse, connect with you on LinkedIn, all that stuff, right? It's essentially you getting people to stay in your web after they've been attracted and made aware of the web. And then from there comes the final sort of sales part, is the third part, is the sales part. Essentially, it's just, okay, now get on the phone with them or get them to the link and they actually like buy. And that's a whole other process in and of itself. But yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. It seems to me that there are a ton of different marketing strategies out there. Like,
Yes.
how do you? Okay,
Abundance.
and everyone's got an idea you know whether it's lead magnets or click funnels or whatever that is. Like, is your suggestion to have a toolbox full of them, or to kind of find one and focus on that, or what would your suggestion be when it comes to marketing strategies?
Yeah. So my motto of life, my motto when I coach my clients in my Hustle and Breathe Business Accelerator is keep it simple, then keep it moving. Right. And goes back to this essentially wrapping up everything we talked about. I mean, even just like this goes against the whole shiny object syndrome, right? It's you choose one thing and you stay on top of it. You choose one strategy, stay on top of it, right? When we talk about the whole idea of you like jogging and doing a whole bunch of stuff and you're running and you're sweating, but you're not moving anywhere, it's because they're doing 15 million strategies at once, right? And so my belief, and essentially what I got my clients to do, is choose one marketing strategy. Now here's the thing, because the thing is that every marketing strategy works. Yes, there are tons out there, but it's because they
Right.
work, right? There are tons of different social media platforms. That's because they like are effective in some sort of way for someone to make money, right? Otherwise, they would be MySpace, right? They would be like something that like doesn't no longer exist that no one knows about anymore because it wasn't useful, right? And so every marketing strategy works, whether it's free marketing, paid marketing, whether it's free marketing in or paid marketing via social media ads versus paid marketing in newsletters versus free marketing versus knocking on the door or free marketing sending a DM, organic outreach. Like they all work in some way, in some shape or form, but there's only essentially one marketing strategy that works for you as a business owner, for your business, given your lifestyle, right? And so, for example, what I got my clients doing choosing their strategy, right? It's like for one of my clients, it's only referrals. Her business is only referrals. There's no paid anything. She just has her clients refer people to her. That's it, right? And they do it willingly because she has great service. Whereas another client comes from Instagram. It's all Instagram. Another client is Facebook. And so, I mean, she doesn't even know what Instagram is. So, like for her, it's just Facebook, right? So, I was going to suggest like learn a whole new another platform if her audience is on Facebook. So, how do you choose the right marketing platform for you? Right? It's a combination of right. It's a combination of who your audience is, right? Where are they located, and how do you prefer to communicate?
Okay.
For example, I like to give an analogy of let's say you're trying to reach senior citizens and you're trying to help them find love in the nursing home. Why are you on TikTok? They're not on TikTok. So why, right? Like it's just like why would you be on TikTok? That's not the platform for you, right? Does TikTok work as a marketing strategy? Sure. Does it work for you and your business and your purpose? No, it does not. Right. And so that's what it comes out to at the end of the day.
It's so funny because as soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, TikTok's not the place where you're going to be. That's, but you're right. And we've had this, it's been something that's been discussed before, which is where are your clients? So I guess in some ways you have to identify who is your ideal client. Who are you selling to? And then where are they? And once you figure out where they are, then spend all your time there. Because and spend your marketing in that arena, because that's where the people that you're trying to market to live. Fantastic. And I guess you kind of summed it all up, in which this is, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, but it's also, I'm thinking about it from this perspective, another analogy, right? Like Olympic athletes, they do their training, and sometimes they're doing their training while they're doing something else. They can do their training like while they're in college, right? They're in college, they're doing training, but then eventually they transition and that becomes what they do. It becomes, and they become a highly skilled, highly decorated, full-time athlete, and they're in pursuit of excellence. But it starts off that it's part-time, but you've got a vision. And can you just do me a quick favor? You had given us the 6 steps. Right? Can you just run through them real quick again so that I make sure that I've got them, because I thought they were phenomenal. Oh.
Yes. So essentially, yeah. So first, it's defining your vision, right? And so what is it that actually, and the thing is that like, we all have like a 10-year, 15-year, vision, but like the actual, what does it look like? What is it you're actually trying to achieve? Even if it's just like in the short term too, right? In the short term, it is 6 to 12 months. What do you actually want your business to look like? What do you actually want to accomplish, right? And then setting clear priorities for that. So turn those into action items and milestones. And then from there, the second thing, right, is then a clear defined marketing. And so having a clear message, having a clear message and understanding your audience and having the right content that will attract that audience, attract them to your web and capture them in the web, right? And that essentially is the process of building your brand, right? So having that clear defined marketing that connects to your brand. And then essentially is that we then go down into the team process, right? And so understanding when is the right time to build a team. So it's like team and leadership, because you also need to be a good leader too. Sure. I'm all about leadership. I've been obsessed with that for like 10 years, but especially when it comes down to, you also need to be a great leader as well too. So it's ensuring that you have the right system in place, right? That it makes sense for your team, right? Because I think what happens is that a lot of people are like, can't I just, give it to somebody to do like all this stuff? And yes, right. But that person is probably going to be as overwhelmed as you are. And so we don't want that, right? We don't want
and they don't.
And
they don't have
so,
your
yeah.
vision and they don't have your passion, and so it's not going to be done as well if you're not clearly defining exactly what it is that you want.
Yeah, exactly. So then you go into time. So time, I call it optimized boundaries. And so when I say optimized boundaries, I mean essentially a lot of, high achieving people in corporate, you have family, you have a day job, you have, now you have this business. And so essentially I'm all about essentially taking care of yourself, also taking care of your business. And that comes with having the right boundaries so that you can make the time to deliver excellence in your business, but also delivering excellence in your life. And so, like, even when I was doing my business, I got my 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. At the same time, getting promoted, writing my best-selling book, losing 30 pounds, growing the business, all that jazz, and still slept that amount of time, right? Because I needed that for myself. And so, it's having those boundaries for yourself. Maybe you want to meditate every morning, right? But what is it that you need to have? So, optimizing those boundaries, confident marketing, having a clear vision, team delegation, growing the team at the right time for your business growth. And then financial management, phase 5, financial management. And so controlling your business finances with a wealth mindset and a profit driven focus, right? Because there are a lot of people here like, oh, I made 6 figures, and then they spent 7 figures making the 6 figures. And so it's like, that's not like, what is that? What does that do? Right. And so ensuring that you are starting from day one or start from the day one of working with me, right? And then you end up working on the profit, right? And so it's never too late to start just like having that focus on financial management. And then phase 6 is effective systems. And that's what essentially, brings all of it together with your business is developing the systems and processes for all the above, the team delegation, the financial management piece, the visioning, right? Because the visioning, it's going to adapt, it's going to change, but you ensure that that's happening, optimizing your boundaries, right? And having that marketing strategy in place is also going to evolve. As your business grows, your marketing strategy will also evolve as well too. And so ensuring you have the systems in place to make
Beautiful.
that happen.
Vanessa Zamy, you have been a wealth of information. So if people are looking to find out more about you, where can they find you?
Yes. So you can find me, my main marketing platforms on Facebook. So Facebook and LinkedIn are my main, essentially, places where I connect with my community and followers. And so just Vanessa Zamy on Facebook. If you would like to connect further in terms of you're just like, I'm overwhelmed now and I need help, then by all means, you're welcome to schedule time. I offer free Underwhelm Your Overwhelmed business sessions for people's 20-minute chat where we get you a clear path. So you're working on that vision, right? Getting you a clear path on how to move forward and growing your profit producing, purpose driven business, even with the demanding day job and doing it without the overwhelm. So you're welcome to schedule time at
Beautiful.
power.bzamy.com.
And I will put links to your Facebook, to your LinkedIn, and to the power session all in the show notes so that people can find you easily that way. Thank you so much for being here. It is time for 3 questions to establish your humanity. Are you ready for this?
Yes. There's one question we didn't answer though. The successful how do people or just like getting those like getting help and support, right? I think it
Okay.
was something like that. It was something around getting help and support. Yes, but continue. I don't know if you want to address that. But I'm just gonna say summary. Successful entrepreneurs, another thing about them is that they get the help that they need, right? They don't sit here like crying it out for the rest of their life and quitting and being terrible, right? That's the ones who are unsuccessful. The ones who are successful raise their hand. Everyone has a team behind them. You see them on an Instagram feed because they have a whole team of people behind them. Like, and they're not just doing it by themselves. So get the help and support that you need, whether it's me or someone
Beautiful.
else. But get the help you
No
need.
worries at all.
Yeah.
I think that is a good cautionary message to put out there. Like, hey, you may feel like you're on your own, but the help is out there. Reach out and get it, and that's what's going to help you grow. Wonderful. All right, 3 questions to establish your humanity. Number 1, did you have a pet when you were a kid?
I didn't. I had friends with pets. I did not. No.
Did you ever wish that you had a pet?
At first I thought I was like, maybe I would want a goldfish. That seems pretty low maintenance. So I had a friend who had a goldfish. I had another friend who had a dog. I have a cousin who had a turtle, but she still has a turtle actually. But yeah, I would say at some point I wanted a goldfish, and I realized that we weren't home that much for me to maintain the pet, so it wouldn't have made sense.
You know what? You got to find whatever works for you. That is perfectly fine. So what book have you read most recently that you thought was very helpful for you?
Yeah, so I actually am reading. Well, I was reading essentially the most recent book I read I thought was really helpful for me was Mark Cuban's book. Essentially, it's called "How to Win at the Sport of Business." and sitting actually right next to me. But How to Win at the Sport of Business by Mark Cuban. Essentially, it's like, sort of like his. He didn't want to write a biography, so he just like put a whole compilation of his articles together. But essentially, just getting into the whole like mindset of a billionaire has been really helpful. Just helping to see that like there are concepts that I'm not crazy about. Like this is actually a thing. So yeah, so essentially that was really helpful for me. And I'd say another book as well too has been You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. Also a great book, New York Times bestseller. You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. Also. Okay. Yeah, it's an amazing book on just like money affirmations and money mindset.
Got it. So, yeah. All right. Last question for you. Pasta salad. Is pasta supposed to only be eaten warm, or is cold pasta an acceptable thing?
That is a great question. I feel like cold pasta is an acceptable thing. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like pasta salad that I've had. When done well, it's like really good. Because the thing is that I've had warm cold pasta salad where like it was like cold and then
it sat out on the table too long.
Yes, exactly. And that didn't taste right. So yeah. So yeah. So I think it's like cold pasta is
okay. That works. Cold pasta it's acceptable and it's on the menu. Wonderful. Vanessa, thank you so much for being here. To all my listeners, I hope that you have learned something today. For those of you who are thinking about starting, this has been instructive. For those of you that have started and are feeling kind of like you haven't really hit your stride yet, I hope that there's something that you heard today that would be helpful to you in getting your business where you need to be. I will remind you guys, as always, that when you stop learning, you stop living. Have a great day, everybody.